Have you ever heard of the chassis problem? So it's this concept of if you had a car manufacturing plant and you could make 8 tires a day and you could make 3 steering columns, but you could only make 1 chassis, 1 frame of the car. How many cars can you make a day? 1. So spending any time figuring out how to make more tires or make more steering columns is pointless until you figure out how to make more chassis. What we've done is the chassis problem used to be the underwriting. Deals, underwrite them, right? Like, tell us the value. That was the slog. And then you had this part over here who had people just waiting for the deal to come from underwriting. Well, we've just fixed the chassis problem, and now the chassis has moved.
Hi, Adam Gower here, founder of GowerCrowd.com and host of this YouTube podcast series, AI in Real Estate. Thanks for joining me today. My guest today is Helen Calvin, who is CEO of Buildout.com. Buildout is a platform that supports the commercial real estate brokerage community. And we're going to be doing an on-screen demo. Definitely want to be watching this on YouTube or go to the Gower Crowd website, click the podcast link and find the show notes page because we are doing an on-screen demo and it is absolutely worth watching. I think probably the highlight, I hope I got this stat right. I'm just recording this intro having just spoken to Helen, but I'm pretty sure she said 50% of deals transact through or at least working with the Buildout platform. So that's a really incredible market penetration. Definitely well worth taking a look at. Not one of the usual startups. This is a firmly established shop that is growing extremely rapidly. In fact, Helen also demonstrates some of the new tools that just today they have released. So go ahead if you can and watch that on the Gower Crowd website. And while you're there, go ahead and subscribe to my newsletter. If you haven't done already, you'll get summaries of these conversations and links to the podcast and also to the videos. The fastest way as a subscriber. It's totally free. You can always unsubscribe. Okay, let's move on. Helen Calvin, CEO of Buildout, coming right up. Oh, hang on, before we start. Actually, one thing, Helen and I actually continued our conversation after we had stopped recording today. Actually, we're still recording, but after we had officially stopped recording the podcast, and we got into some interesting, bigger picture discussion that tune in. I'd be interested to hear what your views are. Go ahead and if you agree with our thoughts or have different perspective, I'd love to hear your thoughts. When this is published, you can always leave comments on YouTube or on LinkedIn when I publish it there. So do stick around for that after podcast conversation, right? All right. Now, this time for real. Helen Calvin, CEO, Buildout, coming up. Helen, it's nice to see you again. Thanks for joining me. Why don't we start right at the very top? Please tell us who you are, what company you run, and what does the platform do? High level.
Awesome. Hi, Helen Calvin. I'm the CEO of Buildout, and we're the end-to-end platform for brokerage operations. So everything from how you manage your relationships and prospects to how you market your listings to how you then process those deals and transactions. The only place where you can kind of do it all in one spot, because it's the administrative stuff of brokerage that drags us all down, right?
All right. So you preempted my next question, which is, who is the product built for? But is it commercial or residential brokers or mix of both?
Commercial real estate brokerage, both leasing and investment sales and anything on the commercial side. Not really focused on residential, although they're amazing as well.
And so what is the pain point that you're addressing, Helen?
Look, the amount of operational, administrative, manual burden of the work that it takes to to just run commercial real estate brokerage when it's not necessarily the special sauce that's going to have you win more deals, is maddening. It's maddening. And so our main goal is, how do we get that operational burden down as light as possible and increase how much time you're spent selling versus how much time you're doing all of the noise that it takes to get to selling.
All right, give me an example of what people are doing today to solve the problem that you're solving. How are they doing it without Buildout?
Everything from not having a centralized database for their property information or their contact information. You probably have it in an Excel spreadsheet on your desktop, or maybe you're cobbling together your marketing documents from a variety of sources and you're trying to put them in a PowerPoint. Or maybe you're using software tools, you're farther on the adoption curve, to help you with processing your invoices or your commissions, but you're using a separate tool for every part of the workflow. And every time you have to get that data from one place to another place to another place, you're going to make errors and you're just going to have to spend time doing it, which is a pain. So people typically have either no tools, rudimentary tools, or fragmented tools, which causes a lot of pain.
So what stage of the real estate of the life cycle of a deal does Buildout enter?
I'm going to sound like I'm being contrary to your question, and I don't mean to. The most important thing we do for the deal life cycle is relationship building. What do you mean? Why do we do relationship building? Because we free up every second of your time that you're wasting on something that isn't relationship building, which is the only thing that actually makes a difference in the revenue you're going to create as an individual broker or as a brokerage. That's the biggest impact we can have, is give you the time to do the thing only humans can do, while we take the rest of the noise off your plate.
Okay, so how do you convince skeptical professionals that tools like this actually exist? Like, in other words, what's the biggest challenge, I guess?
No one is skeptical of technology. Adam, what are you talking about? Commercial real estate brokers aren't worried about the impact of tech.
Okay.
I would say, look, it's pretty simple. We're fairly straightforward. Buildout has been the number one provider of our type of technology for over 15 years. We are the market leader by far. We wouldn't be there if we weren't doing something right. And the thing that always struck me during the downturn, particularly in 22 and 23, there were a lot of companies losing a lot of customers. There were a lot of companies struggling through that downturn in the market. Buildout had some of its highest retention years and some of its highest performance years during the downturn. So it's a little bit, the proof is in the numbers. We wouldn't have done as well as we did if we weren't really pretty central to helping you run your brokerage.
All right. Before we move into the live demo or the on-screen demo, let me ask you a couple of questions that I forgot to ask if you minded if I ask.
Right.
So if you do, just tell me. All right. So no problem at all. But how are you guys financed? Are you guys venture backed? Or are you entirely revenue?
We're privately owned, privately invested. We have couple of investment groups in us, majority owned by a company, but we're in the business of making a great business, which is really great. I have been in investment scenarios before where it was just, there was no trade-off between quick, fast, and cheap. It was all three at once. And we're really about building for longevity.
All right. Last question then, before we go to the demo. One of those I should have asked you if I can ask before. User base. There's a lot of shops out there already that are barely started. I know you are far further advanced. So just give us a sense of scale and how you've grown. If you don't mind.
I would just say census scale is roughly 50% of commercial real estate listings pass through our platform within the United States.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, let's go to a demonstration. If you don't mind, go ahead. I'll let you take the wheel and share your screen.
Amazing.
Okay. So for those people who are listening, I do recommend that you go to the GowerCrowd.com website. Helen is sharing her screen. Go ahead and go to gowercrowd.com and find the podcast. Just click the podcast button at the top of the page. You'll see the video right there. All right, Helen, over to you. Please walk us through what we're looking at as well for somebody who might be listening.
So I'll give you the full spiel. We're going to actually just look centrally at the marketing part of our platform as a backdrop for if you went for the full suite. We also have CRM and transaction management as a part of as well as prospecting database of over 155 million properties. But the central part that I want to have you see as it works through the workflow is one of the biggest things that people struggle with is no data source of truth, no central record by which you are operating all of the workflows across your brokerage with data. Information on a property, information on a contact or potentially a buyer or a relationship with you have. In Buildout, you can create that central source of truth. And we've made it as easy as possible. So you can drag something off of your desktop, a PowerPoint, a PDF, any old OM or record that you might have, and you can start creating that property record right within Buildout. We use AI data ingestion to fill as much information as we can out for you. You always have a cross-check because as we know, AI is always sure, but it's not always right. So you can cross-check that data.
It's a bit like me, that. Sorry to interrupt. Always sure. Seldom in doubt, but often wrong.
Often wrong. So you can fill out that information, anything that you might have found that's missing. And this is where the magic comes in. You have now started a record on a property that will now be perennial and consistent throughout every part of your workflow within the brokerage. You never have to enter that data in twice, and it always stays the same. And you're going to see some moments in the marketing side where that really becomes impactful. So as we start having this property record, we can start to enrich it with some more information from what we put in. As you can see, that little purple sparkle, that is what has been pulled from AI or what has been pulled from Buildout's own pre-populated information. We know more about a property than probably you do. We have over 155 million property records that we can pull from to help you fill out the information and get this central source of truth for any property that you might not have worked before in your brokerage. And let's say there are things that you want to have about that property, but you don't really want to do the work of entering in manually. We also have many areas within the platform that you can use AI to help you with content generation or property information. For here, maybe I want to put in a sale description. That property form, that property record that I have is now being used to give me an opportunity to use a sale description. I can choose to use that and populate that in.
And that's AI generated, is it?
AI generated.
Okay.
Always with the ability to edit or change, and always with the ability to approve before you put it in. This property record, now we're at a place where we can start using it. I'm going to show you how we use it in the marketing flow and then talk in some other areas where you might be able to use it. For Buildout, one of the biggest areas that people use it is to start creating their marketing materials. We have the ability for you to drag and drop in things like media. We also have a partnership that if you don't have media that you want to put into your documents or your websites, we can help you get that. But the importance is we never want to sacrifice quality for speed. So even though you can populate this information as quickly and simply as possible, you have edit capabilities with commensurate with some of the best marketing tool and editing platforms. You can change the colors, you can shade your photos, you can make sure that you don't sacrifice quality as you're getting to the simplification. And then you can start creating some documents. We're using all of that data that was pulled in simply and easy on that record. We have some templates pre-built that you can use, or we can also create templates for you and your branding, your colors, your layouts, your designs, what information you want to be in that template. Let's say we want to create a brochure. As you see, every bit of that property information is automatically pulled into that brochure, creating it for you immediately. If you want to change the layout on this brochure, you can see on the left, you have an entire page library that you can pull from. Maybe you want to put in a PDF document that you have separately, or you want to move some pages around. You can always make edits and changes within the tool. You can change everything from font to font size, colors. You can make edits to make it exactly your own in 1/10 the time of what it would take in any other tools, or if you're trying to do it ad hoc.
Well, so this is very important. How do people typically do this, create their brochures? What's the process currently?
Most of the time, folks are working either in design-only tools, and they're having to kind of start from scratch each time, maybe an Adobe Photoshop or even something as rudimentary as a PowerPoint. Not only does that require specialized skills on your brokerage team that you have to pay for people who know how to use tools like that, but it also requires that you're starting from scratch. Even templatized designs and something like those tools would be not as nearly movable or amenable, and you don't have the data to pull in. So you're manually pulling in the data every time. Otherwise, people might use another marketing automation tool, and the issue with those tools is 15 years of flexibility and template design and customization built in. And I'll talk to you a minute about permission settings and then also how it flows through the rest of the platform. This is really important. As you start getting into these documents, you can also decide access settings. So not just access settings internal to your brokerage, but access settings across people who are going to see externally these marketing materials and which marketing materials you want them to have access to or which documents. Permission settings is paramount to how you operate a brokerage operations platform, not just within the marketing, but as you look at the broader part of Buildout Suite, you're going to necessarily want this role within your brokerage to be able to see these items, but you're not going to want that role. The finance team should be able to see all of the commissions and the payables, but maybe you don't want every broker to be able to see that. Marketing admins need to be seeing what's going on with the listing, but they don't necessarily want the broker to be able to change all of those documents. Difference between visibility, ability to take action, and pretty complex permissions networks is really critical when you think about how to have a strong operations workflow.
And you also have a required confidentiality agreement here as well, and a toggle button. So presumably when that's set to on, your brokers have already populated a data room that automatically opens when that's set to use. Is that correct?
Correct. And so this is the part where the marketing automation really speeds up. As you've created those documents and that listing, you can also start to create your own website. We help you have templates for both your website for all of your property listings, but also you can have individual property websites. What's really exciting about this is all of that data populates through. So if you fat-fingered the square footage, change it, and it automatically changes through all of your documents. It changes through all of your websites. And you're not now entering another place to go send your email. You can use those documents, or you can create email templates through Buildout. And we now have the ability to send those emails on your behalf. One less place to go. You can get rid of your constant contact. You can get rid of your MailChimp, and you can run your emails all through Buildout. The whole idea is, how do we just allow you to use all that work that you already did over and over and over again in every part of the workflow. This is where then you start to showcase that listing. Let's take one that's already been put on the market. Your leads will also come all back into Buildout. The leads that you got potentially through some of those email campaigns, or the leads that you maybe got through some of your third-party listing sites. If you have the Buildout CRM, you can then be working these leads in the CRM, connected to the property you're working, see other properties that might be a good fit for them if this one wasn't. This is, again, that central source of truth that you can be doing all of your workflow through without having to cobble together all the different solutions where all the information is coming from. We talked about that third-party listing site. That listing you created, we also can send to any third-party listing record that you'd like. We have relationships with many syndication partners, including premium relationships. So you get that closed-loop lead flow, and you also know what's working, which is a really important part to be able to show your clients. We have client reporting that you can customize and format that allows you to also show your clients what you've been doing for them, because half of the game is selling or leasing the property, and half the game is making sure your client knows how hard you are working. And we've created those templatized reports that you can preview and email onto your client and share really easily from the platform. The idea here is, once you've got two central pillars to your brokerage, if you've got a contact pillar and you've got a property pillar, those two data stores, you now can create marketing listings with simplicity and ease. You can manage your relationships, run your CRM with simplicity and ease, and you can do all of your transactions with simplicity and ease. And every time that data goes from person who needs to be using it within the brokerage to the next person to the next person, it stays consistent, it stays accurate, and it cuts down on all that transfer without losing the quality on the outcomes of what you're trying to create.
So, so what is the resistance to using a platform like this? Seriously, what do you find is the pushback that you get from brokerages?
I think often there's a concern about failed technology. All of us have that scar tissue of the platform we brought on with high hopes and high dreams, and we invested a lot of time, effort in, that fell flat. And what I would say to that is that's why it's so important to pick a partner who has proven longevity in the market, and to pick a partner that has proven examples of customers who have been multi-year customers en masse. That helps you thwart some of that risk of adoption. I think the other thing that always holds people up from any kind of technology, not just commercial real estate, is I'm not a tech person and I don't know how to use it, and it's hard to sort of learn and use new things. And I would say that that's why it's important. You've really got to look for partners who design with the end in mind for ease and simplicity. We just did a complete entire UX overhaul, even though we didn't even necessarily need one, because I always believe if your product has to come with an instruction booklet, you designed it wrong. So how do we make this as simple as possible? And how do you work with a partner who's AI forward? Because the great opportunity with AI is it's not so much how do we help you do, it's how do we do on your behalf. And every part of the build out workflow, we've mapped the entire customer use cases, and we've said, where are the parts where we can stop helping you do and just do for you? And you obviously have the approval capability, but I don't really want to help commercial real estate brokerage do administrative work. I just want to do the work and have them do the relationship building and the networking and the collaboration that they're so uniquely suited to do.
Helen, how are users actually reporting the benefits of using Buildout in terms of actual results? Can you give me some examples of the kind of feedback that you're getting when people do come on board?
Yeah, there's two real elements. One, I would say, is just quality and fidelity of outcomes, both in their marketing materials, how polished and professional they look. Oh my gosh, I can compete with these big fancy brokerages, even though I'm a small team, because my materials look so high quality. If they see that in their invoicing, they see that in how quickly they're able to turn around things like proposals. It's the quality of output at the speed of doing it. The second thing that we hear is really just around margins and profitability of the business. It is so painful. You're growing, you're doing better, you're adding 3 more agents, and you have to pro rata carry these operational costs with it. I now have to add more administrative support. I have to add more fixed costs to make the sales happen. And it's actually almost an inverse curve. Your margins get worse as you get bigger. One of my favorite case examples that was told to us was one of our smaller shops who said, the client came back and said, you and your team are incredible. This is one of the best experiences we've had in buying commercial real estate. One man. He has no team. He has no admins. He has nothing but himself and Buildout. And he was able to give the speed, the turnaround, and he got the margin of the kind of experience that you would normally have to have 3 or 4 people to provide. So it's really, how do you get that quality of output, and how do you increase your profit margin with every additional sale?
You know, it just sounds so obvious. There's a Japanese term for it that I'm not sure really translates into English, but atarimae. It just means It's so obvious, right? I mean, it's like goes without saying. Like, why wouldn't you?
You're so much more eloquent than I am. I call it duh technology. Where
That
you
is a
just go,
perfect
duh,
translation. Yeah.
duh. We just launched the
Mm.
CRM, which is that conclusion
Okay.
to that final leg of the stool from
Mm.
prospecting into relationship management, into marketing, into managing the transaction that keeps it all in one end to end and sort of infinity loop of work. Um, and when we were talking about it as a team, I just said,
Mm.
duh. I mean, just duh. Obviously, and I think it's that when something's so simple that you can't imagine why you would do it another way, you can really be helpful, which is really at the end of the day, what we want to do is not watch that
Mm.
administrative and operational drag take these brokerages who are otherwise doing amazing work, and handicap them from being able to just keep growing their GCI.
Okay, so what is your avatar, the ideal client? You've described two ends of the scale, the mega institutional shops and the one man shops or one woman shops. So what is your avatar? Who's your ideal customer or client?
Certainly, we meet customers where they are. One of the benefits of being in the industry as long as we have been, we really can service a broad part of the industry. We have large enterprise clients. We also have single person shops. And what I would
Mm.
say to that is it's really what are you trying to solve for? If you're early stage or you're those smaller shops, it's how do I get my operations to be easy, fast, and not taking me down while I'm building my brokerage. That's really looking at the CRM and the marketing part of the suite. And as you get into the mid-market size, maybe you have 8 to 10 brokers all the way up to 100. It's how do we help you with that transaction management other side of the loop and close out CRM and marketing all the way through to that closed deal and running those processes, because those processes and the handoffs between them can get to be really miring down your costs. And then for our large enterprise clients, it's about custom solutions. We are in a beneficial position that we can really develop anything that folks need to be custom within their larger enterprise and make sure that we are making them differentiated, not just in their brand, but also their technology stack.
Okay, I know you've got a busy day today, so I'm going to try and make it quick, but I do have a couple of other questions, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Helen, just a couple here. All right, so actually quite a serious question. With the power of, not that my other questions haven't been serious, of course, but with the power of some of the LLMs increasing exponentially, the platforms essentially being developed by themselves. So we're getting into this exponential growth of AI at the moment. Does that pose a threat to companies like Buildout that you could go to Claude and, build an agent relatively quickly to, an agent swarm relatively easily to replicate the value prop that you have? Is that something? How are you dealing with that?
What's so funny is for me, the advent and the strength of what's going on with AI is nothing but unended runway for build out. And what I would say to anyone who's looking at AI or the capabilities of AI, you're absolutely right in one sense, Adam. There's a lot that you can start to do on your own to build certain functionalities or build certain agents. It's not really as intuitive as folks would suggest yet. And the other piece is I think, is that worth your time relative to the cost of a software company whose whole job all day long is to figure out how to use AI to build optimized commercial real estate workflows, right? It's the same buy, build, borrow trade-off that we've all been making our whole lives, which is, do I do it myself? Do I pay someone to do it? Right? Or, do I partner with somebody to do it? And that's always the decision you're making. And I would suggest that any time spent not building relationships is probably not fruitful as much as it is just use the technology partners who are doing it. I often give this example. I asked my father when I was graduating from college, I had to do my first job and I had to file taxes. And I asked my father, oh gosh, I should probably learn about taxes. I'm sure I'm not maximizing my return. I'm sure there's something I could be doing better. He said, Helen, you're very bright. I'm sure you could learn how to do your taxes. You could also learn how to write legal contracts. You could also learn how to change your carburetor. You could also learn how to do anything you want to do. You could get very, very, very good at one thing, such that you do well enough that you can outsource everything else. And I would just say, as we enter this new wave of technology, there are opportunities to use AI on your own. And then there's opportunities to just say, great, now my technology partners are really going to be something, and get better at picking good partners who will keep you at the forefront as opposed to trying to figure it out as a lone soldier.
3 wrap-up questions. What's pricing? Because that's clearly the delta, right? Do I do it myself or do I pay somebody else to do it? So how is Buildout? How's your pricing structure?
Yeah, so we price on basically how many people are you going to need to be in and using this platform. If we're going to operate the operations or minimize the operations on your brokerage, how do we think about how many people you want to be in the platform taking advantage of it? So it's a typical per seat model, and we have prices starting as low as $129 a month for some solutions and going up from there. So it's really about meeting you where you are with your brokerage based on your growth so far and what we can do to accelerate that.
Last 2 questions. Big launch today, right? I read that right? March 10th. Yeah, big launch. So you've run through very briefly, you ran through kind of the highlights of what you've got. What the launch was the new
CRM, that third
the CRM. Okay.
To be able to have truly end-to-end brokerage operations, that first time you contact a prospect and maybe even find the prospect, how do you carry that information through every part of the cycle from there?
And you showed us emails, right? Outbound email. But presumably being a CRM, this will, if it doesn't now, this will include full communication history, including phone calls and everything.
Tasks, automation management, list building, helping you follow up on leads. It is a full-fledged CRM to help you with everything you need, but specifically designed for commercial real estate, which is one of the reasons Buildout's been the #1 leader of CRM and commercial real estate specific for years. And one of the things we know is one-size-fits-all horizontal solutions don't work. Commercial real estate is too complex, it's too detailed, it's too specific. And so really, those years of understanding the CRM landscape, we built the simplicity with this one in mind.
All right, last question. So what's on the roadmap for 2026?
Oh, I get so excited about this. One of the decision we've made over the last 2 years is less about adding and bolting on more parts of the platform. Once we have this end-to-end suite, it's really augmenting every single part of it, just making it better and better and better. We have a lot coming in terms of opportunity with flexibility and doc generation within our marketing tools, so you can continue to be really bespoke in how you automatically create documents. And the other piece that we're moving towards is just heavy AI automation and opportunities for you to have the work done for you. So every part of that workflow, we just look micro moment by micro moment. What's one less decision you have to make? We have a measurement that we look at of just decision fatigue. How do we get it so that you have to do less that isn't differential to your business?
I love that. Second Japanese term, of course, Kaizen, all right? Continual improvement. Helen, do you mind if I include this little after chat in the podcast? Yeah, it's really interesting. I like this kind of conversation.
What are you hearing that you love these days?
What am I hearing that I love?
Yeah, just when you talk to everybody in this space, what are you saying? Oh gosh, this would be so cool if.
Oh, I'll tell you exactly what that is. So I work mostly on the acquisition side. Well, I do capital formation, but we've started to expand because we're using AI across the whole deal life cycle. And one of the biggest challenges that our clients have is deal flow. So there's lots of ways today where you can drop a deal memo and a data room and your Excel model into, drag and drop, and it populates your model and you've got all your analytics. But it's that step of bringing the deal to the platform is still manual. So outside of that step, what you've also got is this insane deal flow that comes from emails, from brokers, from databases, from CoStar or LoopNet or however. So you've got this pipeline that's coming in, and you still have to go through those hundreds of inbound data points to decide which is worth taking the next step and underwriting. And then you drag and drop it. So I think that there's a break point, there's an opportunity to feed the platform where you've got your underwriting already in place and you've got your criteria and you've got a screening mechanism to actually
go through,
to pull the pipe into that, run it through everybody's underwriting, right? And actually send them the deals that make sense. So you're not trawling through literally hundreds of deals. You're actually only getting to those, or what it's doing is only surfacing those that are actually of interest to you.
And DealPath isn't doing that right now?
I don't know. You're accessible. Some platforms simply are not.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've reached out to them. I'll reach out to them again. But I will tell you that if they are doing it, nobody knows. And I talk to a lot of people. So I'll try and drill down on that a little bit more. And then there's a second side to it as well, incidentally. So you mentioned efficiency. So what we're seeing with our clients is that their acquisition team, so despite this issue, the acquisition teams are now able to underwrite literally 50 deals a week instead of 5. Before they do one, it'd take them half a morning to go through it and the afternoon to deal with it. Now they're getting through 50. But what that actually creates is massive downstream workflow, because now you've got 10 times the number of proposals, 10 times the number of follow-ups, 10 times everything, right? So acquisition teams, I like to say, they're not doing 50 deals instead of 5. I'm sorry, they're not 10xing their productivity by doing 5 deals in the morning on Monday and taking the rest of the week off. They're continuing through the week. And so actually they're getting busier and busier. So on both sides of these solutions, you actually have other issues that could be solved.
The chassis has changed. Have you ever heard of the chassis problem?
No.
So it's this concept of if you had a car manufacturing plant and you could make 8 tires a day and you could make 3 steering columns, but you could only make 1 chassis, 1 frame of the car. How many cars can you make a day?
Right.
1. So spending any time figuring out how to make more tires or make more steering columns is pointless until you figure out how to make more chassis. So what we've done is the chassis problem used to be the underwriting. Deals, underwrite them, right? Like, tell us the value. That was the slog. And then you had this part over here who had people just waiting for the deal to come from underwriting. Well, we've just fixed the chassis problem, and now the chassis has moved to another part of the workflow.
In a different direction. Well, this is the direction that I think AI is going to go. There's a lot of talk about huge job losses and industry attrition, and there's a lot of talk in the software industry at the moment that the markets are focused on. But what happens when you look at it historically is, yes, there's always going to be attrition, but new industries grow out of it. And you can see it happening already. I think of it like this. You can see a whole new industry of people training people how to use AI. Well, that's a new industry. Then there's platforms like Buildout that are creating innovative, creative solutions to problems. But that's also a new industry. The next level, we don't really know what that necessarily will look like yet, but we can conceive it.
I think you're going to find we are moving right now with capabilities of AI. We are moving from automation or basically manual or analytical process, chassis problem. And then what's going to happen is you're going to hit the wall where it's actually EQ and soft skills, because it cannot solve for that right now. And I think that you're going to find, as you speak about new industries or where does the swell start to happen, It's going to be in roles that require a lot more EQ and soft skill management, where you say
Sorry, EQ.
emotional quotient instead
Ah,
of intellectual quotient, where
yes.
you're going to start to get to the idea of, great, we didn't know how to winnow the deals. Well, now we've figured out a way to winnow the deals. We've fixed that chassis problem. We couldn't underwrite the deals or model them quickly enough. We fixed that. We couldn't necessarily do the workflow after that. We fixed that. Well, great. Then you hit the wall where at the end of the day, two people are sitting across the table from each other, trying to build trust, build reliability, and, create the emotional willingness to buy. That's all the analytical willingness to buy. And then there's the emotional willingness. And that's where, which people don't give enough credit to. People make decisions emotionally, not for any other reason, although they justify it. Rolex watches come with a really complex, beautiful booklet that explains everything about the Rolex and how it works. Less than a third of Rolex buyers ask for the booklet and even get the booklet. 75% of those ask for it after they bought the watch. Because now they're just going to go tell their friends, look at all it does and blah, blah. That's not why they bought the watch.
It's emotional.
Because it was an emotional decision.
Yeah. Well, what you see is what we're going to see is profound structural shifts. There's a good example from the advent of electricity. The first factories that were all steam powered, when they discovered electricity, just plugged electricity in, but they didn't change anything in terms of the layout of the factory. They just powered it with electricity. And it took a generation before they realized, wait a minute, this new tech means we can lay out the factories that much more efficiently. And that's where you get these profound structural shifts. And it's difficult to know or to even see where that might happen with real estate, but we can imagine it. And that's the future, I think. Those are the industry, the structural shifts. There will be attrition. It's like the classic example of the travel agent industry that was completely obliterated, right, when Expedia and these others started in the 90s. But it didn't shut down. It wasn't that travel stopped. In fact, massive industries grew up from these increased efficiencies. So it'd be interesting. That was kind of, I was interested in your roadmap going forwards. And I think the way that you described it was exactly the point, is that it's the power of these tools that we have at our disposal now. It makes it so exciting. When you're at the cutting edge, it just makes it so exciting, to be a part of these fundamental shifts.
I know you and I both have to bounce. I'll give you the exact parallel to your electricity example. Biggest error people are making right now. Let me get my engineer to use Claude Copilot. Let me get my engineer to use AI code, as opposed to, who is the archetype of human that should write code now? We're trying to get the factory to use electricity, as opposed to saying the best code writers now are humanitarians. Humanitarian studies, social studies folks out of college are the best code writers, because it's not actually about the skill set that knew how to code. It's about the skill set that knows how to underpin human behavior and create the right prompts. So, and people who really understand user behavior and mindset. So it's the exact parallel to the electricity. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get my engineer to go use Claude Code. I'm going, good luck. Good luck. How about you get your product team to start writing their own code, right? How about you completely change the skill set that's coming in?
Helen Calvin, CEO, and you're not turning into chairman or anything next week, are you? Based on the last... No, okay. All right, good. CEO of Buildout. What a pleasure. Pleasure to see you again. Thanks for joining.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us.
All right, that was Helen Calvin, who is CEO of Buildout. Actually, the last time I spoke to Helen, she was not the CEO, but she became the CEO the week after. So obviously she knew that was coming. So that was why I was joking to her about whether or not she was going to be promoted to chairman next week, and was keeping that from me. Anyway, Helen, such a pleasure to meet you. again and to spend some time with you. And I really did enjoy that little chat that we had afterwards. It really is an incredibly exciting period of time to be alive and in business and seeing these incredibly powerful changes to society and to technology and to the way that everything is done. So thanks for joining me and thanks for chatting with me as well today. And thank you to also dear viewers. Appreciate you being here. Tell you what, if you've not connected with me on LinkedIn, please go ahead. You'll find me easily enough. Adam Gower or Gower Crowd or a combination of the two in the search bar. You'll find me. Go ahead and connect, and then I will see your posts and your feeds in my feed and vice versa. I've been very active on LinkedIn and really enjoy the camaraderie that comes from meeting interesting people in the industry on that platform. So go ahead and connect with me on LinkedIn. Okay, that is all I've got for today's podcast. Thanks again for joining me. Until next time, it's Adam Gower signing off.